First of all, let's go around the room, starting,
Hi, Eugene Ori, Acting Generation Manager, MLP.
Dent, Municipal Light and Power.
Jim Posey, MLB.
Bernie Hall, Anchorage Assembly.
Chris Birch, Assembly.
Tim Steele, Assembly.
Patrick Flynn.
Jennifer Johnston.
Amy DeBoski.
Okay, I didn't do an agenda, but basically I thought what we would do is we'd start out, first of all, where we are historically, what votes we've taken as far as Power 2A, Power Plant 2A. So we all know where we are right now. Sort of give a history of that.
Okay, at the last time President Oversight Committee, I gave a presentation handout, and I can do that again all over the board, over the screen here, if I can figure out what's going on. Or I could just ad-lib it.
You're welcome to add with it.
All right.
As long as it's accurate.
What's that?
As long as it's accurate.
My name is Eugene Ori, and I've been in charge of repowering for MLMP for several years now, and I was also our representative in the joint project with SPP. And since for about 2.5 years, we've been developing this project, starting out with finding a site for the equipment that our IRP dictates us to build, and we tried to obtain land by Centennial Park that went up by like a ton of bricks with the community council, and we, with rejiggering the plans, we figured we could fit it into a small postage stamp piece of property the city currently owns between 2 switch yards at Plant 2. So we obtained our approvals to do that, and we hired a firm, IEC Corporation, who is a specialist in building power plants, and specifically for small municipals up and down the West Coast. They're Portland based, and they've augmented our staff because we don't do this but once a generation. They've guided us into how to make a plant fit in this area, and since about 2011, we've been taking risk-reducing measures by doing small projects leading up to this big project. The main one that is most visible is leveling the hillside, which we did last year with the contract to MassX, and that so that we could assign a flat piece of property to the eventual constructor. Various utility relocations around the perimeter of the site, coordination with AWW. They have their main backup water generating plant is right there, as well as the water mains from Eklutna run right in front of along the Glen Highway there on the frontage road. And about halfway through this process, we realized that it would be an additional risk-reducing measure to you have to provide some sort of laydown, if at all possible, to a contractor. Heavy industrial construction usually takes about a 1:5 to 1:7 ratio. So if you're going to build an acre of property, you need 5 to 7 acres of laydown and construction space. So last year we entered into an additional clearing and flat spot building behind the flat spot that we built last summer, and that's called the SSA project, South Staging and Storage Area Project. That project is currently being worked by Roger Hickle Contracting, as well as the gas lines from NSTAR go across this project, and that we replace those gas pipelines as a part of this project that are 30 years old, and we now have proper connections for a new facility, as well as replacing the old out of code pipelines down to existing Plant 2. 2012 was largely specification building and writing of an RFP for the construction of the project, and this comes right on the heels of the RFP we had written to supply the prime generating equipment, the 2 gas turbines for the project. That contract was awarded last fall to General Electric for 2 LM6000s, PF with Sprint, which is just their latest version of a turbine with a little bit of injection of water for kind of a turbo boost at the top end of the load. The Assembly approved that last fall for a contract of about $52 million.
And they're currently in construction.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. They are.
Are they down in Houston yet?
They are in Houston. The engines for power generation actually originate as aircraft engines, I think for a model that fits on the 767 aircraft. And at some point along the aircraft engine production line, it's pulled off and is born as a power producing engine. It doesn't get the fan on the front. Instead, it makes shaft horsepower and gets married up with a generator. And that process is done in Houston. The generators are coming from England. They get shipped up here for delivery in next June on site.
Are you stacking them up or waste heat recovery, or are you doing where you turn a second turbine?
Yes, sir.
Combined cycle.
This is a 2-on-1 combined cycle project with the most efficient equipment in the industry today. It's roughly 2/3 the size of SPP.
So you should realize some of the same benefits that they did at SPP with
The same benefits,
efficiencies.
if not more.
Absolutely.
And the Alta generation, if I read this correctly, is 120 megawatts?
Yes, ma'am. And so the only equipment the city bought was the engines at $52 million, and we are going to assign that to the EPC contractor to build the plant with and construct, start up, and test. So that's the background of where we're at real fast. We've done about 12 projects to the tune of about $10 million of preparation of the site and to reduce risk in the overall to the overall construction contractor. We built the specs. It was a long process. It's a very detailed process and specification writing to build a power plant. We did that in 2012 and issued the RFP in January of this year. Several rounds of addendums with potential bidders went back and forth with us, clarifications. By April, we had 5 bids. We had a 6-member review committee that evaluated the proposers. 3/5 on cost, 2/5 on qualitative measures, experience, background, financial capabilities, project team, availability, etc. We then shortlisted it to 2 bidders, and we asked, in addition, we invited the 2 bidders up for interviews and then asked them for a best and final offer. And when we received that best and final offer in July, we evaluated one more time, and it was apparent that Quanta Power Generation out of Denver, Colorado, was the highest apparent winner. So, and that again is out of 5 qualified bidders, and it also just happens to be that it was also the cheapest bidder at just about $200 million.
So we're $75 million into a $300 million project.
Right.
And we've appropriated that much.
Appropriated about 300.
And correct me, I'm trying to remember the study that started as far as what we need for power for MLMP. What was the study that was done, what about?
IRP.
Yeah, and how long ago was that?
We did one in probably '04, did another one in '07.
And then updated it in 2009 based on the fact that SPP was happening. So that was a known. Instead of a plan, it was a known. And we reacted to the known SPP coming online. What is our additional need to replace power of our aged equipment? And that was roughly just over 100 megawatts with it, including the recently built SPP.
So including SPP, it was 100 megawatts, and it was for 20 years out?
Well, you look at what the resource solutions would be, and we were planning for a 30-year design life for the
So
equipment.
100 megawatts for the 30-year life. And so we're doing 120 megawatt, and SPP is what, 50 megawatts?
50. And our load runs between 140 to 180, depending on the season.
Right. And so when you integrated resource plan, the utility long-term planning tool for its projected load growth, its current asset mix, its age of its asset, and the availability of stuff out there. Ms. Johnson, the one thing you definitely look at is load and the need, but the other half of it is you're looking at your resource mix that you have, and we are coming on a replacement cycle, or we're beyond a replacement cycle for the stuff that was built in the 70s and 60s that is becoming hard to maintain due to availability of parts. It's starting to inflect in cost to maintain the existing
Right.
core stuff.
And to be honest with you, and I think, and anybody jump in when you like, but, you know, I've been kind of having an aha moment when it was reaffirmed when we got these. And we all know that we had to, I mean, one of our reasons for increasing our rates is our revenues were down. And so my question is, and I know that we're almost 70 million into a $300 million project, but are we overproducing?
No.
And so you're saying that our, tell me again what
Our seasonal high of power generation runs 140 to 179, 180 over the last 3 years, depending on what the loads are. We are a double hump utility. We have a hump in the wintertime, but we also have one in the summertime. We actually increase between spring and summer when it gets warm. Almost all of the buildings that we serve in downtown Midtown have heat rejection, otherwise known as air conditioning. And so that drives the usage up when we get anywhere above 65 to 80-degree days. The days are very long, and so the equipment runs all day to cool off these glass buildings. And so we see that in our load factors as we go through the year, or year to year.
So looking forward, our power sources are going to be 2A, 120, SPP at 50. Remind me what the hydro.
The hydros are good only for about 6 months at the maximum out. So we got 22 if everything's working on our aged 50-year-old Eklutna, so that's 22 megawatts, and we have 25% plus of the output of Bradley Lake whenever the power lines allow us to recover it. And that's becoming problematic now because Homer is, their production will basically cause congestion in the line.
What's the Bradley Lake output?
It's nominal. What did we produce on a daily basis at max? It's supposed to be 122, but we can only get
90.
about 90 off.
And
25% of 90 is what we can get intermittently, and that's over a 12-month period where you get 50% of that at any one time, because basically there's only enough water for 6 months production.
It's important to note that MLP has about 400 megawatts of generation capacity in its portfolio, and 6 of our 8 machines are past their design life, and so when we're talking about replacing our baseload generation, about 150 megawatts of baseload generating power, we actually have plus hydro, our peaking hydro and our peaking machines, we cover our load. However, we have equipment that we can't rely on backup, and so it's like aircraft engines. You have to take them out for maintenance, and you still have to keep operating at a high utility level. So we have to keep a spinning reserve of well over 200 megawatts just to keep reliable for our load. So when we're saying that we're replacing our baseload generation, there's an additional need to replace to get more efficient generation online. For example, if if Wantana Hydro becomes a possibility, that will fit at a level. It will fit nicely into the portfolio of generation. So I when I say we're building 120 megawatts, we should be good. Well, we actually will be good when we're generating most of the time, but the N-1 and N-2 failure conditions, we would still be relying on old and less reliable equipment to operate. So I guess to summarize what I'm saying is we're already kind of in the red zone. This project gets us back deep into the yellow and almost green zone, and there's very much a need to be here, is what I'm saying.
And we asked last time, how much cost avoidance are we going to get on an operational level as we shut down Plant 1 and Plant 2?
We just took how much out of the budget for the next 2 or 3 years on maintenance out of Plant 1 and Plant 2?
Probably over $10 million.
Well, more than $10 million of maintenance, because as equipment, you do maintenance on equipment to the tune of $2 to $6 million per machine based on how many hours they've run. And once we start putting these older machines to bed, they don't intend to run except 2 to 3 times a year when we're doing maintenance on the new. Like right now, they're getting ready to take all 3 machines of SPP down for a week each in order to do planned maintenance. And when they go down, we have to hunt and peck as to what we're going to run in order to make up for that 54 megawatts that basically will be down between the 2 companies. But our share of that 54 megawatts is roughly 15, 20 megawatts that we have to either get from hydro, get from one of our old units and run it. Because right now, we just cut the pipe on the steam unit for Unit 5. We can no longer keep Unit 5's boiler active and ready to run once you shut it down for more than 6 months. Rust and everything else sets in. So that unit that supplies steam to Unit 6 is no longer available. And so we've taken that out. We've taken Unit 5 offline, and we will run it basically because it runs on oil. In an emergency, it will be kept ready to run, but there will no planned maintenance on it after this cycle.
Another way to answer your question, Mr. Flynn, would be SPP is now in service, serving about 1/3 of our baseload generation, and it's saving us $7 to $9 million a year in gas, depending on gas price, and the addition this project, the award of the Quanta power generation for the building of the 2-on-1, when constructed, is projected to save us an additional $10 million a year, depending on gas price. So that's a 30-35% reduction in just in gas use over current. And so that projected out, that's big gas savings, and it's, I'm not, haven't even started talking about the environmental savings of the current, but yeah.
So you said that's about 35% of your overall gas cost?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess to sort of follow up on my original question, how much more is that maintenance budget going to come down on the old facilities in balance as well as it's online?
Well, basically, once we took, well, I think we probably, over a 5-year period, took out $40, $50 million worth of maintenance.
Somewhere in that area. This maintenance is capitalized.
Capitalized,
It's not
but still.
expensed.
But it's capitalized.
That's per the RCA. They got after Chugach several years ago for not capitalizing when they go in and do major work on these turbines. You gotta remember, the IRP said maintaining these dinosaurs out into the future costs more money than building new equipment.
And a rough number.
I understand it. The nature of this discussion is that we just approved a 22% increase in MLMP rates based on bringing SPP online.
16 actual, 16, 17 actual. Okay.
22%. And that's based on the lumpiness of the capital program. We understand that. But you're asking us to approve another 200 some odd million in capital appropriations, and that's going to have some sort of rate effect, and we want to have at least an idea of what that's going to be like, lest we surprise the ratepayers 2 years hence. So that's what we're trying to get to.
3.5 years hence, and that impact could be somewhere between 16 to 25%, depending on what our expenses, cost, and everything else is. I can't tell you exactly what that is, but when you do big lumpy investments, there's only 2 or 3 ways to recover that. You can create a regulatory account and spread that out over a period of time, but eventually you have a lump there that you have to take care of. There is no way to take care of a lump, but you can delay that so that that lump shows up 10 to 12 years later by creating a regulatory account where you don't recover the initial piece for a number of years, but eventually you have to catch up with that, with rate of return. And I'll show you a chart about that. I mean, there's 7 different ways from Sunday as to how you can approach it, but the lump is always there. A regulatory account allows you to ease that in rather than putting it in the beginning like we have with this one.
Tim?
Yeah, I've been wondering for some time about the regional aspects of the new plant. Yeah, we have to be self-sufficient, I understand that. But you have MEA with a new plant, you have Chugach with a portion of a new plant. And, what is the capacity like between the 3 of them? I'll leave out Bradley Lake because you were talking about the transmission lines being a problem there as well. But what is the capacity like in terms of, if you look at 3 of them together?
We can tell you this because it's real. We saw it several years ago that when Chugach planned how much they were going to build, they did not realize that 80-degree summers were going to knock that plant down from 183 to 190 megawatts down to 150 megawatts because when it's warm, the jet engines operate less efficiently. And so that's why we're putting a cold water intake on the ones that we're doing. To let you know of something that's getting ready to come out by EPS. EPS is a big firm that works for the state of Alaska. It is doing a study on where we're going to be 2019, 2020 if we pool all of the generating deals, as the state would like for us to do. I think it's the right thing to do. If you build all the pipelines, I mean the transmission lines to connect Fairbanks all the way down to Homer to take the east, and then you pool all the generating capacity. That study, the draft, first draft, second draft, and finals coming out here in probably a week or 2, hopefully, but definitely before the end of the year, The only two plants, once you start Watana, that will run is MLNP 2A and MLNP CEA SPP. They will be the most efficient ones on the system, and they will run in order to keep the rail belt with the Watana completely going. And everybody else who has built anything in the last 2 to 5 years will be standby. That's how efficient this is, and that's what the study is showing. And if we do a rail belt-wide transmission combined system, which the state is somewhat thinking about funding, when that happens, then that is the net result. That our units and the ones at SPP will be the only ones turning to the right. So, efficiency, what's being built, will it be efficient going in the future? Will we be able to pay for this? All of those are basically answered by this study, which says, because we're doing the right thing. Number one, a study that we did probably 6 or 7 years ago between the utilities. If you build less than 120 megawatts at a whack, it's inefficient. Because of the size of the rail belt, 900 megawatts total capacity on a bad day when everybody's producing. If you build anything less than 120 megawatts, you're not building the efficiency in that you should be, given the size of distributed generation that you have.
So 20 years down the road, MEA's new plant is going to be standby.
It's going to be standby by this report, the draft of this report. But since it'll be
Assuming
diesel,
we get transmission
but
lines,
since
become
it's going to
independent.
be diesel capable, it will serve the purpose of then backing up what we will be taking out. Because I guarantee you, we will not be able to keep Plant 2 ready to run for more than another 10 to 14 years.
I didn't hear an answer to my question.
But
How much more maintenance dollars are we going to save going forward?
$50 million from where we keep our numbers going forward.
That was $10 million a year over 5 years, right? Which is the
Then-
same you just took out. And yet we're not gonna be doing as much maintenance looking forward, so why is it not increasing in the out years?
Well, we still have to do some maintenance on the new ones. That's maintenance that you have to do. So if the question is, by taking out the old, how much maintenance are you taking out? Over the first 5 years, 50 million. If you tried to run those further out, it increases by 5 to 10 million a year. But we don't plan to ever think about doing that, because you probably won't be able to find the parts.
Manufacturing.
That's it. They won't be manufactured anymore. Our Unit 7, I think, is still the leader in the world for Unit 7, or pretty close to it.
It's
fired hours.
It's in the top 5 of 125 of its kind in the world, and yeah. Mr. Flynn, another way to answer that question is we've had about a $15 to $20 million capital budget within generation just to keep the aged infrastructure, both plant, steam plant, and gas turbines operating. We've made cuts now to the tune of down to $5 million a year or less to the tune, and we're letting the last bit of life out of our existing equipment die with the plan of it being used up by 2020, which gets us through the bathtub effect of the new plant coming online in 2016. The new plant will have a very small capital budget, probably $500,000 a year. In fact, I attend the CEA joint meetings monthly. We're into capital planning for the next year out there, and it's just above nil. I don't think they've thought it all through yet, but it's very small. So brand new plant, about $500,000 a year capital maintenance, and here we are with our old stuff pushing about $15 million a year just to keep it steady. So that's the kind of delta we're looking at. I would expect the new plant, the overall budget for generation capital to be $3 $3 to $5 million a year going forward. So that's the kind of average savings we're looking at on top of gas. And then you roll that up to rates and for debt service and everything. So that's just one.
That helps, thank you.
I'm looking at the 8-year summary, and you're basically saying in this, as far as your sales, both residential and commercial, are pretty flat. Going at it, is that correct?
That's flat as we see it today, but if the development of this city, as it has been growing, we expect to grow with the city. We think the military base may want to do another 10 to 20 megawatts if they build the server farm, which is still in the wraps. That may be there. Nobody else can supply that right today, but we could. We think that we'll be just like we've been for the last 5 to 10 years, a net seller of electricity to both CEA, MEA, Golden Valley, and I don't think we've ever sold to Homer, because if we sold to CEA, it took care of Homer.
We just had a hiccup this year. We had sort of a hiccup in that.
We had a hiccup this year, which will not last. We just have a lot of new equipment coming in at Homer, and they're willing to give the power away in order to test it. So that's why, we haven't been making the sales. Actually, Golden Valley came back to us in the last couple of weeks and said, can you give us a little power? Sell it to us. So it's picking up, but come January of this coming year, when MEA is still working on their plant and HEA is off, Chugach is going to have to shut down another unit at Beluga. So who has the unit that can push a button and start without having personnel fly across over there? It'll be ML&P. So we're prepared to sell at the right price. We don't give power away.
Any other questions? I have probably a really dumb question, but I'm good at this.
There's no dumb question, just smart aleck.
Just the one you didn't ask.
What does it mean to backload? What does it mean to backload? I was reading a report as far as SPP and ML&P was backloading the power. What does that mean?
Backfeed?
Backload.
Yeah.
I don't know. Backfeed, backload, I'm not familiar with that term.
Backfeed, maybe I wrote it down wrong. What is that?
Technically, it's feeding electricity from high voltage back to low, the transmission system back to the plant for startup and testing purposes. Because generally, you're generating power, and then at the plant you step it up out to the grid. But I'm just
So
curious.
it might have been a testing?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd asked, because I'm, as you know, an assembly person, you know a little bit about a lot of things and not much about anything. So
That's a good thing for all of us. We appreciate it.
I've been doing some reading because I just had little things like the back of my neck. And I'd asked for a rating agency update, and I think that's where I saw that. So that was basically during the testing period. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am. It's a high risk period.
Oh, I see what, it's block loading.
Oh, block loading.
Yeah, what's that?
Oh, that is a statement, a dispatching statement, based that SPP has decreased our overall gas usage by a step change, and we are essentially dialing in that power all the time as a block to serve our customers, because it's the cheapest power we have right now.
So it really is cheaper than our own gas driven because of our generators being old.
Yes.
Our gas is more expensive because it's,
That combined cycle, being as modern as it is and as efficient as it is, and saves $1.5 to $2 million $5 to $7 million in gas.
that's the first, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's $5 to $7 million we're saving.
Yeah, we save.
And
on
when
a
we
yearly-
get our own gas and our own power generation, it should
Yeah.
be that and more.
Yeah.
correct?
And
Yes, just a clarification, we are burning our own gas through SPP, so it is our
Okay.
gas.
Yeah, it's good. Are they burning our gas also, or?
No.
No.
No, it's just our gas.
That was the deal, we're gonna bring their own.
But the new plant is going to have the cool water coming in, and thus will be more efficient.
And the warm water going out to keep everybody's water
That's right.
heaters
Yeah.
operating more efficiently.
Both directions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that gets into this, well, I'd like to bloviate all day about how I want to build it to be more efficient and because that's, the goal is to be the best out there.
Our job is to bloviate, you're just telling us what we need to bloviate about.
We have a bloviating material for you.
Yeah, we're very excited about the additional synergies because you have the entire city water supply flowing right in front of the plant. You can essentially get district heating for the non-costs, or it would be very expensive to do district heating. That's why it's centrally planned in Europe and not done in America. But we essentially get that benefit because you're in one place, you're co-located, and for a very little capital cost, you can put use to waste heat. So AWU benefits. I've been corrected that it's actually the fire department that benefits because they have a budget for the hydrants, and that's the main benefit of increasing that cold water from 36 degrees to 42 degrees. It means less frost jacking and maintenance. There's some calculation out there, but certainly there's good benefits to discuss about that.
I have one of those, my house is 34, 35 years old. I just put one of those new hot water units you put on the wall just in time. In most cold water places, you can't operate those, but because the water in Anchorage is getting warmer and warmer, you actually can do those, and mine works. Even though I'm way down in South Anchorage, and eventually the warmer water will get to me after this mod that we do in 2016. But the whole system will benefit not just East Anchorage.
Anybody else have any other questions? Would we like, as a committee, to make a recommendation to the assembly, or do you want to, would you rather vote on this individually?
We're just accepting a memorandum that would recognizing the RFP. I
Right.
don't think we really need to make a recommendation. I mean, we've had questions, they've more or less been answered. Did anybody get a chance to sit down with
Yeah.
Bart to review the results of the
RFP.
I was hoping to do it tomorrow afternoon.
Okay.
And anybody else is welcome. I didn't want to go into executive session.
No, I think it's appropriate to do it offline.
Okay. Ms. Johnson, we also have the contractor here, Quanta Power Generation, we're well prepared to discuss in further detail about the contractor and give you more of a background of who they are and whatever, if it pleases to give them.
It'd be nice of them to introduce themselves.
Yeah, excellent. Mr. Green, Mr. Mark Green is the project manager for Quanta Power Generation.
I'm the senior project manager and worked on the proposal, and this type of project is something that I've done several times, and that small site is something that just takes good planning, and that you have a lot of time in the schedule that allows and mitigates a lot of the normal risks that you would have. So, we feel the project's very doable, certainly within the time frame and within the money set. So we're very comfortable with that, having done similar projects in New York City and other places that much tighter, and the cost of storing stuff being a lot what it is. And I'd like to introduce Dave Matthews with Price Gregory, who's a Quanta company here locally, and that, so we have a good handle on the labor and productivity issues as well as some further mitigating strategies that we have going forward.
So, Mr. Green, you're located, your home office is
Denver.
Denver? Okay.
Yes.
And how much will we be seeing you over the next couple of years?
Yeah, a lot. This project's very key to Quanta, in that, as it is to yourselves, and that we understand the sensitivity, particularly as you drive by it on Glen Highway, you get to see it every day, and that it is a very important project for Quanta, as well as it's a very important project for you guys. The commitment that my company has made is that you have as much of my time as is required to make it successful, which is all of my time. And so I'm dedicated to the project and that, and as need be, willing to relocate here, and that, which was exactly the case in New York City. And that, so we're committed to make it work for you. We're committed to make it a very positive experience in that for you.
Appreciate that. We'll hold you to it. I just relocated a PM for one of my jobs, so.
To add to what he just said, he said they built one in New York similar to this, squeezed it into a space, I think, tighter than this.
Yeah, on a relative basis, we had about 10 acres to put 500 megawatts.
Yeah.
And we modularized the boilers on that one and literally drove them into place. Just to show you what you can do with a little innovation, the exact same plant was being built across the creek from us, and we did it for $300 million less. So, job was union, obviously, and that's a close coordination with the unions, which we're very comfortable with as well. So,
Did the project in 24 months.
yeah, the most frequently asked questions, so this was privately financed question that as I went to Wall Street to defend the monies and getting the monies, was how can you build this in 24 months when no one else can? And that part of it was the mitigating strategies, and how do I, we had no laydown areas similar to this one, very minimalistic laydown area. It's all about coordination, and we actually built it in 21.
So that's music to the ears, I think, of my friend Lucinda, because if this project comes online in 2015, it goes on the MUSA tax rolls.
Right.
And Mr. Green, just so you know, Ms. Johnston spent a lot of time on power issues generally. Ms. Brady certainly has, me to a lesser extent, so please don't take our questions as
Right.
critical. We just,
We're here to support the decision, however it goes. You need the information, and I just think it's important for you to understand that we're not concerned about the schedule or the cost of the project, and we have the balance sheet to support it, and that we think it was a well thought out process, and that I think it's important for me to be here to say as the project manager that there are things that we're doing actually to advance the 30-month schedule, and that out of the chute. So, all that reduces risk for everybody as well as advances your opportunity to generate revenue sooner. So,
And thank you for coming, Mr. Green. How many projects are you currently going to be concurrently being the project manager of, or is it just this one? I just want to see if your company is spread too thin.
I'm dedicated to this project.
Solely? Perfect. Thank you.
I support other sales activities, but that's not unusual.
Any other questions?
Just one more comment. We did get notice from Fitch that we're good once
Good.
again.
Good.
The press release will be tomorrow sometime.
I mean, what good is
A+.
A+?
Maintain. They wanted to do AA, and they say, well, you're regulated by the RCA, so.
lucky to take you down to me.
But, I'm an old oil industry guy, and we never wanted AA, because with AA, you basically have to keep more reserves, because they give you a higher rating because of your reserve capacity. And A+ is a nice niche to be into as a utility. So,
Ms. Johnson, I do have, Mark had brought up this morning the financial statements, public financial disclosure of Quantum. This is their 2012 year-end closing. I have 3 copies. If anybody's interested, I'd be more than happy to leave these with interested folks who really want to dive into the financial side. It's interesting. Quanta is a highly high equity firm. They got a lot of cash reserves, and they're quite well financed. We're happy.
Well bonded.
They're well bonded. They could have bonded this in cash. We told them, no thanks, give us a surety.
I think that's all, and I appreciate everybody's effort on this. It's a large contract, and so I appreciate you coming back.
We kind of owe due diligence on it.
Yeah.
We're nervous.
appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.